Hello everyone, I'm back in Frontierland with Tonto today, and in this episode I'm going to build the Painted Desert and Indian Village attractions, which will finish closing in this toy box, and those are going to go up over this way. As I mentioned in an earlier episode, neither of these locations exist in Frontierland today. When Disneyland first opened in 1955, Frontierland was divided into three main regions. The first was Frontier Fort, down that way, at the entrance to Frontierland. The second was the riverfront, with the Mark Twain steamboat and the island which eventually became Tom Sawyer Island the following year. And the third was the Painted Desert, which was based on Disney's first nature film by the same name. This region was a recreation of various lands and deserts in the western United States, and it was like Frontierland's version of the Jungle Cruise. Initially, you could tour the Painted Desert by riding a stagecoach or a pack mule, and Disney also added a train ride in 1956. Now, this whole area that I'm going to build today is currently occupied by Galaxy's Edge. And some of you have asked if I'll be building that area, and the answer is no. My Disneyland toy box is based mostly on the Disneyland that existed when I grew up, and Star Wars didn't even exist then. Now in my toy box, you can tour this area on foot or by riding a horse, and I showed that in the playthrough video a little bit. But as we get started, we're going to start by finishing the closing in of this area. And this little goat's wandering around out here. I'm curious what'll happen to him when I pick this piece of terrain up. He fell through. That's funny. Alright, so we're going to continue down this edge of the toy box with three of these. And when we get to this point, we're going to go to the next size smaller and drop this in right here like that. And then we'll grab this long flat terrain block. This is going to sit in here like this. And let me get my screen grab. I want to see if I can get the orientation of this right, because that's kind of important. I can always flip this around later, I guess, but let's see. This is the way I want this to go. This is going to make this a little easier when I'm trying to place down the stuff that's sitting on top of it. And we'll put down three of these. And then we're going to come back over here and pick up this big one again. And put one more down over here, which will finish closing in the river area. So there's the base of this whole area that we're going to build today. All right, let's pick up this little piece here. And we're going to put one down at each of the corners. So right in there like that, and one down here like this. And that just softens that so it doesn't look quite so square, which is helpful. Alright, and then we're going to start our build for today up on this end of the area. So I'm going to scroll to the right and pick up this small rocky terrain block. We're going to drop this here, and I believe that's going to sit there like that. Let me grab my screenshot here. Yep. If you line it up on the seam, it's just one little nudge over. And then that one's going to sit there like that. And then we're going to go up to the plants drawer, and we're going to put down this plant here like that. Oops. With another one sitting out there this way. And I'm just placing those for right now for spacers. And then we'll pick this piece up, put it down, which gets us to here. And this piece needs to sit right on the edge of that terrain. And if you put this up against the edge of those, you're going to go one little nudge to the right. And that's where that's going to sit. That piece is going to sit in here like this. And this piece is going to sit half a little nudge out like that. Which looks a little odd, but I'll explain or show you why that's necessary in a moment. And we're going to basically start filling in the outline of the canyon around the perimeter of this end of the toy box. So that's going to sit in there like that. And then we're going to put 3 of these down, I believe. 1, 2, 3. Followed by another cliff corner. And this is just framing in the toy box, which is kind of important. And then to break this section up, because it's going to be very visible, we'll add that climbing cliff in there. Followed by another cliff corner, like that. And then the half cliff should take us right to the edge of the terrain there. All right, so there we go. Now over here, I think the best way to position this next section is to put the rope bridge in. So I'm going to come over here and we're going to basically mirror this structure here. So we're going to grab that piece. That saves us from having to do a lot of scrolling through drawers and things. And this is going to sit right here on this seam between those 2 terrain pieces, just like that. And then we need that little short middle section of bridge. That's from the platforming toys. I like rope bridges in areas like this. They're just kind of fun to cross and run around on. And that one's going to sit like that. Alright, so then we can pick this piece of terrain up and put the opposite side on here. And this is going to sit in here like that. Try to give you a good look at that. Okay. And then we're going to add the cave cliff in here with the little tunnel opening. And that's going to line up perfectly with our train tracks over there. So that's why the placement of all of this is so important, because everything lines up. And if you're off a little bit, then it won't line up. So if you wonder why I'm kind of anal about making sure all of this stuff is lined up perfectly, that's why. Alright, so there is that. Now this next little section over here, this is going to line up with the edge of that block there, just as you see, and that terrain seam there. So this edge should line up with that. This other edge should line up with that. And again, that makes everything fit in here the way it needs to if you do this properly. And we're just kind of building some little canyons in here, which makes things interesting. So there we go. And this one gets right up close to this one. So you can ride through there. It's pretty narrow, but this allows you to jump over that section of canyon. And then this fits in here like that. This goes up here like this. And just so it's not too repetitive, because this is a highly visible side, we'll put these two different pieces of cliff along here. This cliff, I believe, uses less memory though, so it's always better to use more of that than it is the climbing cliff, because there's some logic and stuff, I think, involved with that. And there you go. So there are the cliffs, and we'll fill in the holes there in a little bit. All right, let's start now for the other side of the cliff. We're going to begin over here next to Splash Mountain. And these are going to sit right up here, right on the edge of the terrain block, and a half a nudge to the right. And then all the way down to the edge. We're going to put two of those in, followed by the corner, followed by two of these. And I'm not going to put a climbing cliff in there because I don't really have the memory. And there's nothing up there anyway, so this is really just putting a border on the toy box. That's all I'm basically doing here. I'm not even going to fill in the area back there with any kind of terrain blocks because, again, I just don't have the memory. Those of you on a system that has a little bit more memory might want to do that. All right, so we got one. We're going to put 2, 3, 4. Followed by our corner. Followed by our little half piece. And that doesn't go all the way to the edge of the terrain, but that's okay. All right. So that looks pretty good. Now let's fill in these holes. So I'm going to pick this piece up, put it down, which gets us back to this part of the drawer. And we're going to use these small terrain blocks to fill this area in. And again, that always cracks me up because they're not that small. At this point, again, you're just filling in this area like that. Okay, now over here, you do not want to fill this in because we need the tunnel. So because of that, we're going to use this piece, which leaves it open underneath. And to close off the other half of that tunnel, we'll drop this piece down in here like that. And that gives us the tunnel that we need. All right, that is looking really good. And now we can finish running our train tracks all the way down to the other end. And if you're on a PC or you don't have the Marvel Battlegrounds playset, you don't have this toy. So if you don't have train tracks, that's okay. You just leave it blank. It just gives you a tunnel to ride through, but it's one of the reasons I like that playset, because it gives you some pretty cool toys for the toy box. And the train tracks just look really neat. All right. Down here we have the train depot. So we're going to go up to the buildings drawer. And we'll go left. I think maybe that's the fastest way. Colby train station. And you can put this anywhere in here. Doesn't have to be right on the tracks. Could be back a little bit. I'd like to go about half of that, but can't really do it. That's all right. And that doesn't use up too much memory because we already have one of those down at Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. So that's nice that we've already got that model loaded into memory. Okay, I think the next thing we'll do is build Indian Village. So we're going to pick up this little teepee here. This is from the decorations drawer from the Lone Ranger playset. We'll come over here and start putting together a little Indian village. And the exact placement of these doesn't really matter. Now, if you're wondering what Indian Village was, it was a location in Frontierland that presented the culture and customs and the arts of the Native Americans. It was very authentic and respectful, and the people you met there were genuine Native Americans. You could learn directly from them about their history and traditions, watch them actually make the craft items that were sold in the shops, and watch colorful performances of real ceremonial dances. It was a neat place, and it's too bad that they phased it out. I never got to see that part of it because they phased it out in 1971 and I was too young to remember it, so I didn't really get to see that in person. I kind of wish I had. When I read about it and look at old photographs of it, it looks really interesting. And there we go. And then over this way, we have a Pioneer encampment. If I can find my screen grab for this. Might be easier just to try to go directly to it. Sorry for the delay. There it is. All right, back to the decorations drawer. We're going to put a little tent out here. Let's see, about like that. We'll put a covered wagon over here. Kind of turn it around a little bit to hide the the busted wheel. How far over did I put this? Not very far. I think that's where I had that. And we'll put another little bonfire here. Okay. Now at this point, I'm going to go ahead and add in the trees and a few other little decorations. And when I'm done, I'll come back and show you what I've got, and we'll wrap up this video. Okay, I am back, and I've added in all of the rest of the plants and decorations for this area. Before I show you that, I want to show you one thing that you need to correct, because I had this wrong. This piece here, I originally had the left edge of this lined up with this. And it's actually the right edge of this that has to line up with that. And so this whole island here needs to shift 3 spaces to the left to accommodate that, so that when you move this into position, the right edge of this lines up with that seam. And that's kind of important because this gap is too narrow otherwise, and this gap is much too narrow otherwise. So I just wanted to point that out. But let me go ahead and give you a quick overview of what we have here and what I've added. So starting with this piece of plant cluster, which again is one of the first 9 pieces out of the plants drawer, the right edge of this, as I've got my camera oriented, is lined up with the right edge of this one across the way. And you can see it overlaps this terrain block a little bit. And I've got a little cluster of 4 of these. And you can see which ones I've used. As well as right next door another cluster of 4. And this one's the little bit skinnier corner piece. And then right next to that we have the same piece that we used over here at the start of the video. And I've placed a little island of 4 of those with a couple of plant clusters here. Another plant cluster here with the left edge lined up with that cave, as close to this rock formation as I can get it. And then 2 more here. And again, note the seams on the terrain and the orientation of the terrain that can help you position these where I have them. Oh, and I forgot this little area up here. I knew I was forgetting something. Let me just put that in real quick. I put a climbing area in up here so that this didn't look quite so flat. And this is how I built that little area down below. It's the same thing, really. Alright, so we have some rocky things there to climb on. Over here we have 2 more terrain clusters, and this actually I forgot to move over with the rest of the blocks underneath. So this actually goes 1, 2, 3. Again, this whole island here moves over. And I forgot to move those too. 1, 2, 3. Sorry about that. I thought I took care of all of that offline. But that's where these plant clusters sit. Try to help cover up those seams a little bit in the terrain. We've got 2 plant clusters down there. 2 over here, and I think I can get these up a little bit closer to that wall. Like that. 2 plant clusters over here. On this end, the right edge of that plant cluster back there is lined up with the edge of this terrain here. And again, note the texture and the terrain seams underneath. That can tell you where to place these. You can also notice the cliff wall behind this one. These 2 are right on that terrain seam below. And then I added the same little rocky divider here, blend. I put 2 of them there and 1 over there. It's the same one we're using over on the other side of Frontierland. So that's what we have. So now we can go ahead and style our plants. And this has already been styled back there. These are going to use Briar Ridge. And over here, these are going to use Briar Ridge. The ones behind the Indian village. And these two also. I would have liked to pack that a little bit closer together, but again, I'm going to be really short on terrain. So those are all of the Briar Ridge trees. Oh, and one more that we forgot to style, or didn't forget, but we couldn't style before. But now that we have all of this in here, this one can be changed and styled to Briar Ridge as well, because we now have this rocky piece in there. And all of the rest of these are going to be styled for the Colby theme. So just like you see these pieces here. So all of these are going to change to be the Colby Terrain Corner 1. All of these are going to change to be the Colby Terrain Corner 2. And I won't style all of these for you on camera, but you're going to take and apply those same two styles to all the rest of these plants that I put down today. All the way around the perimeter of the toy box. And that's it for the Painted Desert and Indian Village. Next time I'll show you how to build the Tom Sawyer Island Raft Ride, which ferries passengers to and from Tom Sawyer Island. But that won't be until next Monday, because I've got a special video for this Wednesday in honor of Star Wars Day. Thank you for watching my video today. Before you go, please hit the like button if you enjoyed it, and leave me a comment to let me know. I always love to hear from you guys. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, just click my photo in the lower right corner of this video. That's all for me today. Have a great day.